I think, there's many ways to answer that, but keeping it simple, and focusing on results. So those accomplishment statements, if that's the thing that you want to, you can focus on, that would be important. The other thing I would say is just a couple bullets. It doesn't have to be a long list like that one that we saw, but most of you will have bullets. That summary and good accomplishment statements, hands down, are the things that our recruiters are looking for. That's a great point. And by the way, it doesn't matter if you're a new grad or somebody who's worked for 35 years. I would say it's our Canadian culture that we don't tend to talk about ourselves, or, oh, that sounds like I'm making it up, or it's a little fluffy. The point of writing it with your accomplishments with an action, what you did, and then the result is that it's true. It feels so much better when you're just talking about what is true. And we just have to get used to talking about ourselves and the results we contribute to. And not just on your resume, but in your performance evaluations, in any career development conversations, or people you're networking with. If you want to stand out, you're not bragging. You're saying, here's what I've done. You don't have to puff your chest out and say, well, I accomplished X, Y, Z. It's really about just being comfortable with the fact that you balance your cash till at night every night consistently, right? You've never not balanced it. Or, you took over 3 sections in the restaurant when you were waiting tables because your colleague was sick and you had the most tips of everyone that whole month. Like, these are real things. So whenever you start to feel like, oh, that feels like I'm bragging, just remember what you're saying is actually true. Yeah. Almost all of the above, but your last point is really, I think it doesn't matter who can speak to it. Ideally, though, it should be someone who can speak to your work. So, if you had 2 to 3 references, and at least 1 or 2 of them are somebody that can speak to your work, whether it was in your co-op or in your unrelated work, right? Your part-time job, that's actually most powerful, because what we're looking for when we're talking to a reference is somebody that can say, what is this person's work ethic? What are some examples? We met with them and they gave us examples. Can you share a bit more about that? How did they work with others? A lot of it is looking at what are some of the softer, uniquely human skills. We're trying to understand, will you fit into our new grad program or with our existing team? And so those are the questions that we ask on the other end. So whoever's best able to answer those, I suggest professors or volunteer, because sometimes people don't have a lot of work experience. They might only have sort of one employer that they could add because they're just starting school and they haven't had a lot of work experience. So that's why I give those other alternates. But to answer your question, Miles, having 2 to 3 is amazing. If you can have 3 references, 2 is good. You want at least 2, and one of them should be someone who could speak to your work. Excellent question. So I'm gonna add a couple of things here. So the document that you're going to be producing, almost all of you, is going to be a resume. Some people will say, give me your CV. Some people will use that language. A curriculum vitae is a very long document. Most of you will not have a curriculum vitae unless you're going to become a professor, or you're an artist, or you're an architect with projects that you need to have. So resume. On the resume, we don't need to say references available upon request. That's very old-fashioned, actually. So, and it's assumed. Now, is it offensive if you put it on there? No, but you don't need to. Save that space for telling us more about you, your interests, volunteer, hobbies. We know that we can request your references. And remember when I talked about header and contact information, you want to make sure that on your reference page, you have the same header as you have on your resume, as you have on a cover letter, so that it all matches and it looks nice. There's so many templates you can download. Even in Microsoft Word, there's resume templates, or you can just Google a bunch and find a template where the header, you can click into it and change it, edit it, so that every document looks matches. It's surprising how many people don't do that, but it looks really good and it's very professional, and it'll help you get noticed.
That's very insightful. It actually is one of the questions that we received in the chat, which is, what about resume templates? Are they good or a bad thing? And I would kind of add to that, would you recommend using very colorful resume templates and such?
Honestly, the recruiters, the HR folks that I know, the problem with some templates, so I'm glad you raised this, is they will show color bars, they'll show graphs, little charts of 3 out of 5 for communication skills. Those don't scan well on applicant tracking systems. So you want to keep it clean, just plain paper, use a sans serif font. In North America, we do not, that's what that means, X, put a picture on. So some of those templates will have a picture. And now if you're applying in other jurisdictions, so in Europe, Asia, in countries in Africa, they will actually want a picture. But here in North America, generally speaking, for sure in Canada and for sure in the US, we don't want to see a picture of you. Not because we don't want to see you, but because we don't want to ever be accused of any kind of intended bias based on how the person looks. Okay, so a recruiter is going to, even if you have great experience, but you got that picture on there, I don't want to put myself in a position where I could be thought of as having any sort of conscious or unconscious bias. So please don't put your picture on. Keep it to 2 pages, clean and simple. The document isn't about it looking good. It's about making you look good. And so that's going to be in those bullets and also in your summary. It's a good question. And as long as you think they add value, we don't need to have 20 points. And I'm going to suggest if you really worked on this, you could probably come up with 10 or more points. You just have to think it through. But a good rule of thumb would be about 4 to 6 points. And if it's sort of like your summer camp job, let's say it's farther away removed from what you're doing, don't forget to include accomplishments there. But if you have other ones that you can highlight in your co-op or in some other work experience, that's okay. It's a bit of a judgment call, Miles, but 4 to 6 in each is good. Let's say you only come up with 3, but they're really good. Don't sweat it. Just make sure that the results are clear. And just FYI on those accomplishment statements, a way to know that you're talking about the results is when you have your point, add to the end or in your mind, so that I balance my cash every night, or accurately balance cash every night, so that what? So that, we had our overall balance, or so that the cash office closed on time, or whatever. I'm making it up, but so that those 2 words help you kind of get in the frame of mind to say, oh, I did this so that what happened? That's the part that's going to be really interesting to a recruiter. Well, I think it's an interesting question because, just by saying what you did is beefing up enough. You don't need to inflate. You just need to be comfortable, because recruiters can tell when you're talking, or because here's the thing. If I say, well, I led this project when really I was a project team member, and then I say in an interview, oh, it says here that you led this project, and you say, well, actually, I was a member of the team, and then I was the one who managed the Microsoft project file, and put it in SharePoint for everybody. Then you're making a disconnect. So make it easy for yourself, right? when we talk about having a bit of confidence, which is another subject, but it's really just staying with what's true, and you know what is true for you, right? And so I would always encourage you to be confident and share, be puff up yourself in terms of talking about what you did, not inflating what you did, because somebody's going to ask you about it, and then if it's not true, then you're going to feel awkward, right?
Yeah,
And you don't need to. You don't
that's
need
a
to.
great advice. I'm gonna ask a question from the chat where that's kind of fun. What is the worst thing that you've seen on a resume?
Wow.
Or one of the worst things?
Oh, so many stories. Well, unfortunately, sometimes it's stuff that we would call they're unprotected grounds here in Canada. So someone would put a picture on there. Someone has put their marital status, their height, their weight, their age, how many kids they've had. Now, keep in mind, at some point in our history, these things would have been important, and they actually might be important as a requirement, like, for example, being able to lift a certain weight or something in a job. But we would never put those on resumes. Those are really tough. I've had people talking about Hannah's point of inflating, saying, I developed this new product for oil and gas worldwide, when it was not true. Yeah, those are some of the fun ones. The other ones are where they just submitted it in another language, like they've applied to on Indeed or something to the English posting, but in another language. So it was not, I wasn't able to decipher. So those are not our worst things. But it's hard if there's not a translation, or it says, the ad is written saying accepting both. So I want to be sensitive there, but sometimes it was symbols. The other worst one is somebody used a font that came up like Webdings. So it was just symbol, 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 symbols. So that's why sans serif, keep it simple bullets. I know there's really cute bullets, use simple ones, because they don't scan well. Well, I can speak, thank you for that question. I can speak more specifically to in Calgary. Calgary is really unique. I don't know about where other locations where your folks may be viewing us from, but here in Calgary specifically, there's a real need for labor type jobs, maintenance technicians, hospitality workers, like restaurants, servers, roles where there's just so much volume and need for those. There are also a need for young professional technicals. So that's why I'm excited for folks like yourselves coming up in the degrees, the education that you're getting. There will be a need for those, particularly if you're going to be focused on anything around carbon capture, various colors of hydrogen, did I say carbon capture? Like those types of things where the industries are advancing. The harder jobs, the jobs that we don't need anymore, and I see this, and it's kind of sad, where we have people who are mature in their careers, they were able to advance with not a lot of education, and then they have very corporate business skills for that company that aren't as transferable, or that role can be automated through AI or machine learning. Those are harder ones. But where the real need is actually retail service roles, particularly hospitality, and trades, and then some more of those young professional technical roles. And there's good information on Canada Job Bank as well, if you're ever curious about doing your own homework, or the Alberta Learning Information Service, ALIS. If you want to put that in the chat, you can kind of see sort of the percentages and where people are getting hired.
Oh, that's cool. That's great to have some more resources there to check out as well.
Yeah.
Just in the interest of time here, I think we'll wrap it up there, but thank you so much for all of the questions and fantastic answers. And thank you just for joining us today. It was really great to have you.
Yeah, and thank you. This is my third time and I see the familiar faces. Thank you. It's great to see you all. Feel free to join me on LinkedIn. Connect with me. It's always great to have an HR person in your network. But also, if you're ever interested in wanting to develop more of your resume or talk about search techniques as you progress in your career, don't hesitate to reach out, send me a message. I'm just about finished my certified leadership coaching, so happy to work with anybody because you're all leading yourselves right now. So thank you guys. This was fun.
It was really, really great having you. Your presentation was super insightful and informative, I think, for all of us. And I certainly have a lot of great new ideas on how to spice up my resume, make it more enticing, and yeah, just honestly rejig it because I am kind of a lost cause sometimes.
Well, and you know what? It doesn't matter what stage of career you're at. Everybody struggles with this. So you're not going to get it perfect the first 2 or 3 times. So don't beat yourself up or go, well, what would I put? Or I don't have accomplishments. You do. You just need to take some time and get some help to put it together. And don't worry if you don't get it perfect the first time. It is a bit of work, but once you do it, you're going to feel really good about how you're representing yourself.
Well, that's great. There is hope then.
There is hope for everyone. Trust me. No web dings.
Noted. Perfect. Well, I hope that everyone's able to join us again this time next week for our food for thought. Please remember to check out all of our social media and please connect with Pauline here on LinkedIn and check out Upward HR.
Yay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Same to you. Take care, everyone.
Cheers.